Welcome to the launch of Pedantic Romantic's Henshin Dimension, channel for vlogging my transition and discussing topics related to that subject. The occasion today is the fact that I'm about to head out to my appointment to, it's a regular medical practice, but specifically I'm there for gender stuff. And ideally, I'll be walking out of there with a prescription for some hormones to start hormone replacement therapy. Not that the process of transition doesn't begin prior to medical transition, but this felt like a good point to start off the channel. So we'll see what else I film throughout the day, but definitely going to get this intro, and then if nothing else, come back to you once I've got my hands on those pills and I'm ready to pop them. Interesting pre-appointment stuff would be the fact I'm going to be wearing my skirt to the appointment. If there's any place in public that it'd be relatively safe and secure to do so, it would be the gender clinic, and so it's I feel a good opportunity to get out there in public in female clothing and do that. So exciting, marginally nerve-inducing, and a friend is getting me a ride there. My father will be picking me up afterwards and giving me a ride back to my apartment here, and he has no idea about the attire that I will have adorned myself with here. He's not seen me in female clothing, so I assume that'll be a bit of a shock for him. But this is something I'm rather excited to do, so we're gonna stay the course, gonna go ahead with it. And I'll see you either maybe if I do some filming at the clinic or once I've gotten back from it. Jump. Cut. Okay, we're back, and with significantly more eventfulness than I was expecting to share with you all. Little harrowing, but it makes for that sweet, sweet content, sweet, sweet money on YouTube. So let's get into it. So, transportation to the place was a ride from my roommate, who was running a bit late. Had me concerned because obviously if you are too late to the appointment, if you're too far past the time the appointment's set for, it just gets canceled on you. And so on the navigation app thing I had open, waiting for him to get here, there was a little button, hey, catch an Uber to get to this destination. And I said, yeah, fuck no, that's not even an option. I'm wearing a skirt out in public for the first time. There's no way I could get into another human being's car on a one-on-one basis. But, I did have to sort of briefly entertain, like, oh, do I have to get an Uber? Because, I didn't know if my friend was going to be too late. Thankfully, that all worked out. Got to clinic, did stuff, we'll come back to that. My ride home from there, because my friend had classes immediately after he dropped me off, was my father. He was going to come and pick me up. Unfortunately, because the appointment did not get canceled, but it did get delayed because I was running a bit late, and I had no idea when exactly it would end from the start. The time that my father was set to come pick me up and bring me back home came and went, and so I had to find an alternative option for transportation. Little old me, out and about in public in a skirt, What are my options? Public transport, take the bus. Ooh, spooky. So guess what? It's like poetry, it rhymes. Uber it is. And particularly because I was getting this flashing offer for a free ride, my first ride free. I'd never done any Uber stuff. So, booking the Uber, painless as Uber is designed to be. Um, but to backtrack a little bit, sort of the experience of walking around the place in general, uh, definitely somewhat nerve wracking. Certainly curiosity over what everyone's reactions would be to me, but I've gotten pretty good at avoiding eye contact over the years. So I had my Shoya goggles on, and in fact, you may have noticed the lack of eye contact with you guys up until this very moment. I was still in Shoya mode right there, I guess. So I didn't actually witness much of that. But stepped outside, had the Uber booked, and now I was sitting on a bench out in public. Look at me, looking around. Okay, just doing my phone. And a few minutes into it, I had a young woman walk up to me. Oh, can I sit beside you here? Yeah, sure. You can sit beside me. And then she complimented me. She says a pretty skirt that I look nice in. She's like, still a little on edge. Like, where's the turnaround? Is this going to be a sarcastic thing? I don't know. But thankfully it was genuine. And then we got into hilariously. So, they have those surgeries now, right? They can get, about those surgeries? Yeah. Yeah, they can get boobies for guys. Okay, thanks. Yeah. So on the one hand, relieving in that she seemed vaguely like, yeah, it's a cool thing, but also like very ignorant. But then she asked if I had gone to Pride this year, and said that she had gone there herself, and so okay, that's my people to some degree at least. She's a little potheady. She had like some weed in her pocket or something. She said she hadn't smoked before she went to the clinic. Her appointment was going to be in a little bit, but definitely that laid back vibe. But as far as a benchmate in that circumstance, about as good as you could have hoped for. Fairly, charming in her ignorance. Of course, the Uber driver, what's gonna happen there? I got Felipe. And this is an interesting subject to tackle. A sort of problematic, increased fear, suspicion, apprehension around people of color. That, I don't know, I feel like, as shitty as it is, I'm justified in having as a trans person, because overwhelmingly, I think it's all but one of like 17 homicides of trans women this year are trans women of color. And so there's definitely something about those communities or those cultures that's particularly toxic or violent towards people like us. And similarly, like if there's an old person, I'm a bit more like, not sure what they're thinking of me. But the threat from them is lessened, as opposed to, just some guy in his 20s. It's definitely an interesting predicament to be in, to sort of have to have an increased level of apprehension around them. And I mean, I'd love for it to be unjustified. It may very well be, and I could just be ignorant here, but it's certainly something I was conscious of at that moment. But thankfully, as much of a is nerve-wracking experience as it may have been. No comments from Felipe about anything. Totally smooth and painless riding experience. It wasn't too far, so that was good. Perfectly cordial, so nothing to fear there. Thrust right into the fire on my first time out in a skirt, and escaping largely unsinged. So that's definitely good to see. Good to have happened the way it did, because now I've got a story to tell, I guess. And then to get into a bit more depth on the experience itself there. The staff were great, very helpful, very kind and understanding. Only stuff of note, I would say, is the fact that it's going to be 3.5 weeks from now, roughly, is my follow-up appointment. I got blood work done, and at that appointment is where I should be getting prescribed hormones. So unfortunately, it is a bit of a wait after this initial appointment here. But it's good to have a date on that, at the very least. Have things seeming to be concrete and settled here, and proceeding smoothly. I'm a fairly simple case medically. They made somewhat impressed remarks, just, no drugs, no alcohol, no allergies, no history of significant illness, etc., etc. So I'm a bit of a model patient, in most regards at least. And we should be proceeding smoothly here. So a bit of wacky, unexpected excitement, a bit of mild disappointment, but overall a successful outing. And now it's time for me to go get some comfort food. Because after that, I am feeling drained and in need of some hearty, healthy nourishment. Don't know when exactly the next update on here will be. Certainly will have one for that appointment, but I've got clothing coming in. Maybe I'll do a little fashion show for you all. Or just topical discussions. But I think that's it. So until then, thanks for watching.